For more resources, visit rymonline.org.
One, two, three.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We've been talking with Scott Lowe all this week, and today's our Friday show, and it's a question that we ask often of our guests on the show. And so, Scott, the question I have for you is, what are some books that you're reading right now that have been helpful to you in ministry, or as well as some books that have been just significant, impacting to you personally and in ministry from the get-go, kind of your earliest years as a Christian, and this is outside of Scripture?
Right now I'm reading, or I just finished reading Jesus Outside the Lines, Scott Sauls. So I've got 2 books by Scott Sauls now that I think the world of. He has been majorly impacted by Tim Keller, who I love reading, and so his Tim Keller's book, Prodigal God, and Reason for God, and those have been just unbelievably impactful. But what's been fascinating about what Scott Sauls has done is he has taken some beautiful thinking of the way the gospel can impact culture, and I think that he has applied it very well right now. And I think almost every youth leader should be picking up both the book Jesus Outside the Lines and the book Befriend, because one is addressing everything from politics and the gospel to abortion to just a hot topic, sexual struggles, same-sex attraction, and I think he handles that discussion with biblical truth and beautiful generosity, and so that's those 2 have been really good, and I actually really encourage my youth leaders. I want you to read this, because the book Befriend is really engaging relationships with those that just do not look like yourself.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that, and Befriend, I mean, it's like there's not an area he doesn't cover. It seems like he addresses so many different relationships, and it's every chapter is very balanced. It's kind of like he'll address it from one side, and then he pulls back to the other side, and he helps you see. But it's a very.
I think books like those are really helpful in building in yourself a way of entering discussions that are very hard, and so it's nice to have those voices in. You were asking me about books, what you were saying, books just like that, and I mean, I think books outside of, I actually just finished. I think it's really good to read broad, and because it does shape. It shapes you. Don't just. I mean, if you're Reformed Calvinist, please don't only read, Reformed Calvinist stuff only. Read those that are outside of that. I do enjoy picking up other books. One of the other book I just finished was I mentioned it, I think, in the last podcast, is Tattoos on the Heart. Gregory Boyle. He's a Jesuit priest. I do not even agree with all of his theological conclusions, but his stories of engaging the most broken people it's in LA, with Homeboy Industries, and his retelling of what it's like for these folks to find worth and value because of God. I mean, I've wept through that book. Not necessarily agreeing with every theological thing, but the stories melted me. I've used them in sermons, just to capture he just has an ability to tell story, and there are so many people that I run into that are just, their hearts are, they're living as if they're just an island, and they have nobody speaking into their lives, and I think that's so many students.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's helpful. And I think it is good just to. I heard somebody, and I referenced this before, hearing Al Mohler one time talking about, it's known that he reads a lot and reads widely, and him actually saying that he tends to read books of those written by people that he doesn't agree with, more focused, more intently than books of people that he knows that he does agree with. So I think it is
and
important.
I'm trying to even remember of something I've done recently. I'm almost ashamed I haven't read something really outside of my line. But it's so true. Every time, if I can pick up a New York Times, or I can, pick up some blog articles and just try to find out where they're coming from, is so helpful. And so I do like to read like that. I think another book on like kind of personal growth, and Tim Chester has a book on You Can Change. I really appreciate that book. And if you want to get into your kids' lives, some really good stuff, because everybody's asking how they can change. I taught a class on growing in grace, and there was so many ideas I pulled out of that book. It was so helpful.
That is a good book, and he's written several good books. I know one on pornography, I think, called Closing the Window. But
that's very good. And it may be another one that you almost have. I almost would suggest you can read it, but it's You Are What You Love by James K. Smith. And you almost want to get that as like, some audio download. So you can just take it in, not fight to read it, but to take it in, because it's a little bit philosophical.
Okay.
It's thoughtful, but you almost want to just have it just wash over you, because he gets at the habits of the heart.
Yeah.
And just talk, and really gets at the fact is that, a lot of times we're going at, data and just doing a lot of things to change our behavior, and really we have to get at our loves. We have to get at what makes me love that, and challenge those loves, and work at finding habits that replace that. It's not just getting rid of, pornography. It's replacing it with what fills my heart, what I can love that's better. And so I've found that's really good.
Yeah. Something that we've brought up on this show before is Walt Mueller's ministry, Center for Parent Youth Understanding, cpyu.org. And they have a podcast as well. And there was an entire podcast with James K. Smith. Yeah. And I mean, that book has continued to come up. And Walt Mueller's thing was, youth workers need to be reading this book. And
yes.
He asked Smith some specific questions about some of his material kind of related to youth culture and youth ministry. So it's interesting you're bringing that up, because
that is really, I want to go check that out.
Yeah,
that's really good. I will go do that. So
yeah.
That's good.
Those are some good books. Any others that you would say? Those are some that I guess are a little more recent. Are there any older books that you've
Oh my goodness, an older book. I feel like my brain, I've got a lot of older books sitting next to my bed. Now I'm trying to figure out which one.
Yeah.
There's an older book that I do pull. It almost stays on my desk, and then it gets kind of moved away, but it never leaves my desk very far. And it's the Ragamuffin Gospel, which
I
know everybody's Brennan Manning. He's passed. I think it's it's like if you're a dead writer, your writings even get better, I guess. But Brennan Manning is one I go back to and read and reread. I find that's his approach, and I think probably even the books that I read and that have shaped me and formed me have really been books that were addressing a lot of my heart stuff. And so because I am a mess, and I've been trying to figure that out for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been good to like read folks that are even more confident about talking about their stuff, which has helped me. So that's been one I've revisited.
Good, yeah, that's great. Well, Scott, thanks again for taking the time to come on to the show, spend time answering these questions. It's been really helpful. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. It's been a real privilege to be here.
Thanks so much for tuning in this week to the Local Youth Worker. As always, we hope you've been encouraged and equipped in your call as youth workers. If you take time to rate this podcast on iTunes, that would greatly help us. As always, we want to thank Joe Deegan for providing the music and encourage you to go out and purchase his newest CD, Cover and Title Page, which you can find at iTunes. See you guys next week. Have a great weekend.
Oh, come and buy without money. Oh, come and feast without